It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Welcome to The New Next, a podcast that addresses current events and how they will impact the future. One of the things I'm kind of curious about this on the education side, is there a way where this can help people with learning disabilities to learn how to create more correctly? I want to say it was, oh goodness, I feel even older now. So 17 years ago, I was a substitute teacher at a middle school, and they basically, all the people who were struggling in math, meaning half the kids, 75% of the kids, were ones that just didn't turn in their assignments. Mm-hmm. And then the 25% that actually legitimately were struggling with math, they had this kind of cool program that was working it through. And I was watching the kids as they were filming. My main job was just, if they had a question, to mark down when they had questions so we could send it to the software people. And, most of the kids got that done like quickly. Like it was supposed to take 10, 15 minutes. They were done in 3 minutes because, again, these were the ones that just didn't turn in their assignments. But the ones who actually took their time, and I was really watching, like, kind of trying to see, like, is this something that they're actually learning how to do math? Are they learning the skills necessary to do math, or is the computer just kind of forcing it through? So with some of this cool technology and stuff, is there a way that people can actually maybe learn even better than using Skillshare or LinkedIn Learning or something? Is there something where I can learn how to write like Shakespeare, but not necessarily going to college to write like Shakespeare? So not just that the product looks like Shakespeare, but I'm actually learning the tools and stuff necessary to be able to call myself a Shakespearean style author. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a great question because, AI is a general tool. And so it's up to us to figure out how we want to use it. And so with things like this, it's like, wait, can we use it for that? And even just while you're asking a question, I wrote down like 5 or 6 things we could do potentially with AI and, people with learning disabilities, or even just, helping anybody learn. AI kind of as a very high level definition is basically, kind of the human ability to perceive, like synthesize, inferring information. I'm literally just reading the Wikipedia entry, but behaving and being able to kind of think like a human would. It's not just a purpose-built task. It can kind of look at a bigger corpus of information and come up with ideas, inferences, and understand the meaning behind it. And
the way I always thought it was best kind of explained was by talking about the Turing Test. Like the Turing Test, it's basically you have someone in a room and they're interacting with people over a computer, and whether or not like the AI is artificially intelligent and basically humanoid is whether or not, if you have a computer that they're interacting and a human on the other side of the computer, the person in that room doesn't know the difference in between basically whether or not it's a human or a computer.
Right. And so really, we're talking about the tools of a human to do this kind of stuff. And so, for helping somebody learn, we already talked about kind of synthesizing and condensing information. Instead of having to give somebody a college level text and try to have them parse it, we can take that and move it down to a different level of understanding, change the words to something that somebody might understand better. Maybe your English is a second language, and so your vocabulary isn't as large. Okay, we can narrow down the vocabulary range so that you can take in the information, but you don't have to go hit your dictionary a million times to understand something. One of the things that we've started to see too is kind of the ability to have conversations. And so, there's kind of the dreaded chatbot, 5-10 years ago, it was just terrible. Now you can actually have a conversation with it. You have Alexa now, and so you can actually ask questions, have them come back to you. That can be something where instead of making somebody read, they can say, hey, I'm doing problem number 5. I don't understand why, this needs to be like this. And, because it's a structured problem, that algorithm could say, okay, I understand you're looking in this area, like, here's what this symbol means or something. And so you can interact and ask questions and kind of get stepped through the process and things like that in order to come through. That would be something you might have a TA do, but you can't have a TA for every person all the time. And that's not giving you the answer, but it is, you're working with something that understands the problem that you're trying to get to. And so maybe there's a back and forth that they can do through natural language to be able to process and work through a problem. Or to say, hey, I got 15 as the output. The answer is 25. Like, where did I go wrong? And like step through the algorithm and say, oh, well, step number 6 is not how you do that, subtraction or something like that.
And you already interact with AI in this way, but it's just kind of like repackaging it. So like the search engines, for instance, are AI driven. And when you search in Google, you're training their AI. And you can kind of think about, like, we're kind of in that 1.0 version where they have the recommendation engine, where it's like, you have, like, Google has their search results, but then they also have the cards on the side. They're like, did you mean this? Other people that search for this stuff usually think about this. Here's kind of like a little card that shows how these math problems work, and maybe some YouTube videos that you can go look at also.
Yeah, no, I guess some of this, like, this is really cool. Again, I can't understate or overstate how cool this is. I'm thinking about, like, journals in particular, whatever field. It doesn't really matter what the field is, but every single field that's trying to teach something, the problem is that there's a new method. Because basically one thing that the smartest professor I ever had said was, there's no more new information. It's just how we collect it and how we disperse it. So it's the theories, it's the algorithms basically of putting the data together. So I'm thinking, no matter what the field is, I'm looking at it more from an education standpoint of how to help people who have a learning disability, or what we call learning disability, but any kind of field. There's not really a way to test it. And maybe
this will trigger something. We've talked before about that company here in Oklahoma City, and I hate that I can't remember their name, but they developed basically video games that people can play after they have strokes. And it basically teaches them to build the wiring back in their brain and their neurons where they can regain the use of their arms. So the AI, if they have their arm here, the AI on the game shows like their arms here. So their brain thinks that they're stretching farther than they are. And over time, you're basically training your brain to rebuild that stuff back. So,
if you would like to learn more about the New Next podcast, find us at thenewnextpodcast.com, where you can suggest a topic you would like for us to cover. If you enjoyed what you heard, share the podcast, tell a friend about it, or rate us with 5 stars.